ha. Now that I've hit record, we will fill and make sure that it records, because just my luck, it won't as soon as we just hit record and go. I noticed.
Alrighty then.
For that, what was the game I was just telling you guys about? It Takes Two.
Mm.
I did that at when I hit record for that. I was like, all right, we sound good, everything's good. All right, I'm gonna hit record. And then Gothic, we have to wait a minute because then it might not start recording. And it did. It started recording immediately. But if I didn't take the time, then that means it would have started like a minute and a half later. And I would have missed the introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a large pain. I don't understand why, like 95, maybe not that, 90% of the time it starts recording as soon as I hit record. But it's that like 10% that it doesn't. That's like,
Yeah.
Hey, look, Dark resubbed. He figured it out.
All it took was clicking over and over.
I ended up having to go around, my butt to get to my elbow.
That's hot. He subscribed for 10 months. He really only meant to do it for 2, but by the time he was done clicking, he's just like, I'm good.
Yeah, I was like, I had to go to this screen, and I was like, then I did this, and then I did this, and then finally it let me do it. So,
wait, if you had to go around your butt to get to your elbow, did it have something to do with your math tutor?
No, just a toaster tank.
Oh God.
So, are you not electing to not do Science Olympiad this year?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I wasn't gonna do it. It's like I wanted to go to the training for it and get the manuals and everything, but the problem is it's all virtual this year, and I like to go to it to actually to do hands-on stuff with it and see how they're actually building everything, and I don't want to have to go through everything, and we're not going to be able to start up a team because it requires not just me, and that's not. Everyone's so busy at this point that I just don't want to have to deal with it.
You also say every time you hop on here, I'm so tired.
You do say that a lot.
So maybe adding one more thing to the pile is probably not good.
Yeah. Well, I may have already bitten off more than I can chew this year, and so.
Yeah. But we're actually have been recording for 3 minutes now. So let's do the show.
Okie-doke.
Ow, jam. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is episode 633 of the Mana Pool. And I hope you enjoyed last week's just chatting file. Everyone told me, well, enough people told me, yeah, put that on the podcast feed when you don't do a proper show. So I did. So I hope you enjoyed us talking about Castlevania and the Mario movie and other assorted nonsense. Like the complete lack of the crimes of Grindelwald.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Piccolo in the chat just said, damn you, Chewy, for making me feel bad for liking Shrek, Despicable Me, and Minions. What? No, don't feel bad for liking those.
You're allowed to like those. It's just the company is like that. That's what they got.
Yeah, that like the company itself doesn't make consistently high quality stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to feel bad for liking those things and blame it on me, that's fine.
Yeah.
I did that.
If this is a masochistic thing, then knock yourself out.
Yes. As the prophet said, take your hatred out on me. Wait, that wasn't the prophet. That was Marilyn Manson. Never mind.
Is he not a prophet?
I don't think so, no.
No.
But anyway, hi, I'm Chewy. I am the lead dork. And I got these other dorks here. Hi, dorks.
Hi. That's what it sounds like when I mute in time to cough. So ha 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 ha.
Amazing.
I'm Brian. I'm the lead rambler, tangent master of the group, And I don't think, aside from just helping my daughter with some homework, which she's rapidly getting, too advanced for, that I have ever tutored anybody in anything. And that's for the best.
I'm Mike, I'm the rules guy and game lore guy, and for some reason I didn't hear most of what Brian said, so I have no idea what to respond with related to it.
Oh, that's weird.
That's disconcerting. Chewie, did you hear me? Because then they heard me.
Yeah, I heard everything.
Okay.
I always hear everything.
It felt like he was taking a while to get started, and I wondered if it was just to absolutely make it as difficult for me to step on him as possible.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group. And I honestly wasn't even paying attention to what Brian said because my daughter's throwing a tantrum upstairs and I'm listening to it.
One of them can't hear me. The other one is purposely ignoring me.
I was paying
Chewie,
attention, Brian.
Thank you.
I was a tutor in college, like a paid one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was kind of a crap gig. So, Mike, can you hear us yet?
Yes,
Okay, good.
I do. I just couldn't hear you well.
So, Mike, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. 14 in the chat says, I'm only half listening. He's joining in. You're not there. You're at work. Lord. So, this week, we're not doing previews because, amazingly enough, there aren't any that I'm aware of that we care to do.
Just wait for Crimson Vow.
Yeah. And we're not doing a non-magic just chatting stream. We're actually doing a good old-fashioned episode of the Mana Pool. Yes.
Yay.
And before we all forget how to play Magic, I thought maybe we should tackle some more of the Mythic Conscriptions that we haven't done. So, the next up on the list was Odyssey. Because the last one we did was... what was before Odyssey? Apocalypse.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. Good old Odyssey. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Mythic Inscription, in case you're unaware or you've forgotten because it's been a hot minute, is where we go back and look at the old sets before there was a mythic rarity and try to determine which rares, if any, would maybe have been mythic if mythic existed at the time. And sometimes it's easier than others.
Yes. Sometimes it's really not any work at all, and we're just like, wow, a lot of these could be. And then other times, it's a lot of work. I mean, a lot of work. Assuming that at least some of them would be mythic, which sometimes a little generous. Not to forecast what's happening tonight by any stretch of the imagination. So, hey, Mike, I started playing actually right at the tail end of Odyssey Block. But what was the overriding theme for Odyssey Block?
So, the overarching theme for Odyssey Block was, I guess, messing around with the graveyard.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of spiky things in here.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it does make sense to discard your hand to some marginal effect because it will give you threshold to make this other card better. It's like, yeah, I guess.
I mean, I think it's interesting to be discussing this set right now because Innistrad has always had a graveyard theme. Yes, it does the transform, but it also has the graveyard theme, and it does it arguably better. But,
Yeah, that's also because it, like the world and the theme were written around each other. This is still back in the day where they were just like, let's do a blah set.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have the story be this. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I guess now we have to put those together.
Yeah. Because this is actually on Dominaria. It takes place on a new continent that they hadn't done before. I think Otaria.
Otar.
Yeah. So it's kind of a new setting. A couple different things there. Like you don't see any merfolk because they decided they didn't want to draw merfolk on land. So we have the Cephalids, which I don't think we have seen since Odyssey Block.
Oh, yeah, they made a lot of choices here to be like deliberately different from other popular tribes. Like there are
Yeah.
birds and mystics in white. There's the cephalids in blue instead of merfolk.
Mhm.
There's like minions in black. There's dwarves in
Dwarves?
red instead of goblins, like purposefully
Yeah.
instead of goblins.
Dwarves and berserkers had their own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, then there's like druids and squirrels and stuff in green and centaurs
Instead
instead
of
of other
elves.
recognizable
Yeah.
things.
Mhm.
Yeah, instead of it, yeah, no elves at all.
Mhm.
So of course the next block was a tribal block with the traditional tribes. So yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't plan for interblock synergies. They didn't
No.
do stuff like that.
But you did have the graveyard theme, and you had stuff like Threshold that we'll get to in a little bit. This was also the set that brought us Psychotog. So, and if you've been playing long enough to know what that means, you probably just either cried a little. You probably cried a little, either out of nostalgia, if that was your favorite thing, or if you were
Out
anyone
of
else.
pain.
Yeah. So,
I admit, when you said Psychotog, I kind of wish that we did cameras here, because when you said Psychotog, I grimaced, like, hard. I was like, ugh.
we won't be talking about Psychotog because it was not rare. So, generally, we don't touch the uncommons because under either the metric of would it be printed at Mythic today or would it have been printed at Mythic at the time, if it wasn't already rare, they almost certainly weren't going to then bump it up 2 spots. But Psychotog dominated standard, like dominated.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so you see lots of stuff having to do with the graveyard, and Threshold is a mechanic where it stuff does things if you have at least 7 cards already in your graveyard. So, uh, with that in mind, shall we move to the cards themselves and see, is any of this Mythic by either today's standard or would have been printed at Mythic at the time? White. Blue.
No, I have 2 in white. One's stronger than the other.
Okay, go ahead.
The first one, the main one, I would say actually Ancestral Tribute. So it's a sorcery with flashback. The normal cost is 5 white. The flashback cost is 9 white. So normally 7, flashback is 12. You gain 2 life for each card in your graveyard.
That's awfully pricey just for some life. I mean, granted, it's a lot of
big
life.
though. It's big. Consider this. You're a control deck. Several turns have passed by. You've been able to hold off your opponent. You think you finally got the board under control. You've stabilized it like 4 life. Okay, it's not totally out of the question to use this to gain like 18 life all at once, and you're ready to finish taking over the game from there. It's a big effect, and it's not hard to get to the big effect. It's like, yeah, I mean, you're not going to play this when you're only going to get 6 life from it. That's just not intelligent. But it's not hard to get enough cards in your graveyard to make a very, very large effect.
Spend 7 mana, get 6 life. Stream of Life goes, excuse me?
I mean, I looked at it.
Since it has flashback, this is one of those things where flashback doesn't necessarily mean you would want to or would even plan on casting it twice. This is something where, like, when you get early on, you can be like, and then, trade it out for something else. Just throw it in your graveyard just to hold it there for later.
Until you get to 9 mana?
12.
12 mana. Sorry, 9 and 3 white. Yeah.
Yeah,
Was
that could be
12 mana a
wild,
thing even possible back then?
well, maybe for like people like us playing regular Magic, not tournament Magic, of course. This would never fly in tournament play.
I mean, I get where you're coming from. I do. I don't know. It's a big effect. And one of the things I've always said about Mythic Inscription, if it's a big effect and it's costly, that's not a knock to it. It's more just showing, hey, this is a huge thing. Question mark for me. I guess just because even though it is a lot of life gain, it's still just life gain and it is reliant on what else is going on in the game. But what's your second choice?
My second choice is more just because of what it sort of calls back to. My second choice was Balancing Act.
I wondered. I had a question mark for that one.
Yeah, me too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so for 2, let me see if the Oracle text is a little... No, it's about the same. Okay. So for 2 white, it's also a sorcery. Each player chooses a number of permanents they control equal to the number of permanents controlled by the player who controls the fewest. So if, Dirk has 10 and Brian has 5 and Chewie has 6, everyone chooses 5. Then, so that you choose that many and then you sacrifice the rest. Each player discards cards the same way.
Yeah. So obviously this is calling back to balance.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't separate out creatures and lands. This just counts up total permanence, period.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I had a question mark next to this one because we're always a little iffy. Not iffy, but we're always a little like, will they, won't they on sweepers? Because a sweeper can be very powerful. It's just a question of, is it enough of a unique effect?
Yeah, like I wouldn't put Kirtar's Wrath on here. That doesn't make sense.
Agreed. And agreed 100%.
Wait, wouldn't put what?
Kirtar's Wrath.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the that's the Wrath. Yeah, no.
Sweeper. That's the Wrath. They can also they can also give you some stuff. It's a good card, but generally we've always said like Wrath of God, unless it's a really unique effect, is not a mythic. That's kind of what we've said previously.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a similar sweeper, but it's different. Go ahead.
Yeah, and because of the unique way it works, you can build a deck that does some really goofy things with Balancing Act.
You can. Definitely question mark for me. Not a solid like yes, not a solid no at all. There are some, I'm not going to say slim pickings, but the set is not like flush with just all sorts of extra like super special stuff. So, I could see maybe. I had 3 that I kind of looked at plus Balancing Act, but none of them, even though you're like, oh Brian, that's 3, all of them were like maybe. I'm gonna go with what I think actually may be one of my strongest choices, which is Karmic Justice. For 2 and a white, it's an enchantment. Whenever a spell or an ability an opponent controls destroys a non-creature permanent you control, you may destroy target permanent that opponent controls. That is the printed text. That may actually be, yeah, it looks like word for word. Wow, some things change, some things don't. So that's the Oracle text as well. So yeah, basically, whenever they blow up one of your non-creature permanents, you get to turn around and blow up any permanent of theirs that you like. And I feel like this is it is removal, but it's got a very white twist on it. And because it affects the way that the game can be played, I thought, maybe. Not saying it's a hard yes, but I thought maybe it's enough that it's not something you've really seen them do a whole lot of before. It's kind of a novel take on, white does destruction, but it does it symmetrical. This is symmetrical, but like, vengeful. So I kind of like it. But I've also played with this card. I have a bit of a bias toward it. You guys tell me what you think, yay or nay, or maybe on Karmic Justice.
Just feels like a tech card to me.
Yeah, I think I discounted Karmic Justice because I read it wrong in a way that made me like, that'll cause some unfortunate rules confusions. But then I saw I heard when you were reading it that they actually put something in there to avoid the rules confusion because
Man,
it says non-creature permanent. Because if it triggered on your creatures being destroyed, then it would cause confusion because people would think that, it might trigger from a lightning bolt killing your creature when it actually doesn't. Like there's a little judge saying, lightning bolt doesn't kill creatures, lethal damage kills creatures. But because this says
And
non-creature,
to extrapolate that
only,
further, lightning bolt doesn't kill creatures, Just Dunks kills creatures.
Yes.
Because Just Dunks is the rules manager now.
Yes. But this avoids that problem by only that avoids that point of possible confusion by only triggering from your non-creature permanents being destroyed.
although now this would also include planeswalkers, but planeswalkers did not exist at the time that this was printed originally.
Right.
So, okay. So, Chewy, you said it feels kind of like just a tech card, like a sideboard type card. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like I had a similar reaction to Aegis of Honor.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that seems powerful. It only costs 1. And I've literally had this card forever and never played it. So I don't think it's powerful. Why did I think that? And I think Karmic Justice is the same thing. So Aegis of Honor costs a white, and it's an enchantment. It has the ability pay 1. The next time an instant or sorcery spell would deal damage to you this turn, that spell deals that damage to its controller instead. And I was like, wow, it's like anti-burn tech. And then I went, oh, that's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's neat, but yeah.
Did they have something against burn at the time? Because,
I don't know. There's also Devoted Caretaker that can give a permanent you control protection from instants and sorceries until end of turn. So there's something going on there.
There must have been something where they're like, okay, we gotta, sometimes they print answers at the same time they print threats. So maybe they were like, all right, Urza's Rage is really gonna get out of hand. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a case where they would have printed the answer a year later, which is what they did back in the day. So
yeah. Also, I just realized I lost the chat.
Oops.
Random Keho said, in Mike's defense, there's a bad mythic from Dark Ascension, Archangel's Light, that has a similar effect. Archangel's Light. Hang on.
Ancestral Tribute.
And
Archangel's Light ended up with that effect because the original card it was on was kind of broken, but they still had the art. They still needed a white card to fit that.
Isn't
spot.
That gain 2 life for each card in your graveyard and shuffle your graveyard into your library?
Maybe.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Hang on. Archangel Light. MTG. Thank you, Autocorrect. Yeah, gain 2 life for each card in your graveyard. Then shuffle your grave. Damn, I'm good. For 7 and a white. Oh my god. And that's a mythic. What the hell?
Yeah. It replaced another mythic that was broken, but they had to come up with something that fit the art they had already commissioned and the cost of the spell and being a mythic and blah blah blah.
Oh.
Let's really cram this square peg in here really, really, really well. So
cram harder.
And that's part of game design. Sometimes these things happen. What do you think of the other question I had? And I'm going to remove the third one because it's just weird. Other one I had was Delaying Shield, and once again, this is a card that I played with and I really like, but it's kind of a unique effect. So Delaying Shield for 3 and a white. It's enchantment. Let me pull up the Oracle text just to be on the safe side. If damage, what's that?
Nothing. I was about to interrupt you, and I shouldn't have. Go ahead.
I do it to you all the time.
I'll say I'll interrupt him. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Chewy. Let's talk about tacos. So, delaying shield. Put tacos on this and then eat them. If damage would be dealt to you, put that many delay counters on delaying shield instead. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove all delay counters from delaying shield. For each delay counter removed this way, you lose 1 life unless you pay 1 and a white. So this does a couple things. Like, it makes sure that unless we're counting loss of life during someone else's turn, straight up damage is never going to kill you, because this is damage by anything, including your own City of Brass, but also, your opponent's creatures, all those like burn spells that apparently they're terribly afraid of in this set. None of those kill you. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you basically you take all that damage, but you can reduce it by 1 and a white for each point. Essentially, it's loss of life, I know, but that's kind of what it equals out to.
Yeah, like you're trading your damage now for tempo during your turn.
Right.
Like you lose tempo, but you also maybe don't die.
You also negate effects that would say, like, when this creature deals damage to you, to an opponent, draw a card. Well, it never actually, none of those effects actually deal damage to you.
Yeah.
So it can do some interesting stuff. Now, if you want to get super tricky with it, you can, like, at the end of the turn before the upkeep ability ever goes on the stack, you can always, sack the delaying shield with all those like 50 counters on it that would have killed you. But obviously we want to look at what does this card do on its own, not what does this card do with other cards. And I still feel like, in a normal set, maybe not. But this set is not, so far what we've talked about, nothing has really stood out. Like, there's no Baneslayer Angel here. There's no angels are what combine in white, but there's not a white titan here. So I think in a shallower pool, can this get there? Maybe, because it's kind of a unique effect. It's very iconic with white. White does this sort of thing. It prevents damage, but this does it in a very interesting and unique way. So I'm kind of thinking maybe for this one, but tell me what you guys think.
I can actually see delaying shield more than Karmic Justice or the Aegis of Honor, just because of its strange mechanics.
And preventing damage is a lot less specific than, preventing damage from a sorcery, an instant, or, something, or blowing up one particular non-creature permanent. Yeah. So, Dark?
The delaying shield was one that I had looked at, and then the was it Balancing Act was another one I kind of thought, but they were the only ones of these aside from like I have to Qatar's Wrath, which has been ruled out that's not mythic at all.
Yeah.
Those were the only ones that I saw that I thought could be mythic. And even then, the delaying shield, I think, is really good. It's just, you really have to make sure that you have a way of paying paying for the counters as they come off. That's the only thing. But I did think Balancing Act was a really good way of sort of readjusting the game. And I think that's, again, in my mind, which I know we've had that discussion about what is considered mythic and whatnot, but the ability to readjust where the game is, to kind of look at and say, okay, the game, this is something that needs to be taken care of, or it's going to change the game, like where everything is. Balancing Act, I really do think is that, because that really messes with a lot of deck types. Like a big white weenie deck, Balancing Justice really is going to change that deck, throw it on its head.
I completely missed Wayward Angel.
Wayward Angel is part of a cycle, and I love Wayward Angel, Sometimes we look at cycles in here and sometimes we don't. It can be a little awkward to have different rarities amongst a cycle like this. But I like the trader creatures.
Yeah, it's not a full cycle in here. It's just a pair.
Oh, it's just a pair?
Yeah.
Oh, the others aren't in this set, are they?
Well, the Repentant Vampire is here.
The Repentant Vampire and the Wayward Angel
are together as kind of a pair, and then Repentant Vampire is sort of also part of the Trader, the possessed cycle, sort of.
The possessed, yeah,
because it works similarly.
Yeah. Okay. So, Chewy, Wayward Angel.
Oh, I don't think it's mythic. It just tripped me out that I completely missed it earlier.
Yeah.
I guess because I was by the time I got to the last card in white, I was like, for God's sake. Yeah, Wayward Angel is a 6-mana Sarah Angel that at threshold becomes a Lord of the Pit.
A Lord of the Pit that still has vigilance.
A Lord of the Pit with vigilance that doesn't punch you in the face if you don't.
But can sacrifice itself.
Oh, it doesn't say another, does it? Yeah.
No.
So she can't punch you in the face, but she can, eat herself, which is let's not get into
that. So are we done with white?
Yeah, white. Yes. White's kind of.
White's kind of shallow.
So let's go to blue.
Going to blue.
Blue had some interesting stuff. So Mike went first last time. So Chewy, did you have any that really jumped out at you?
I mean, nothing that Time Stretch, of course, is the thing that made me go, I
feel like...
But it costs 10, so I feel like that could be enough, but then it's just feels mythic-y.
It is mythic-y.
I will fight, yeah. Anybody that does not think Time Stretch is mythic, I think is incorrect.
Well, there you go, then. Time Stretch for 8 blue is a sorcery that says target player takes 2 extra turns after this one.
So you can get political with this in multiplayer. You're also never going to pick anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think on Magic Online, I was playing one game, and this was still in standard, and a guy managed to play this. Notice it doesn't have any text about exiling itself or anything like that. Guy managed to play one of these and copied it twice, and I'm like, wee. Yeah. An effect that already gives bonus turns is already questionable mythic by itself. The fact that this does 2 for 1 card, yes, for 10 mana, but this effect needs to cost 10 mana.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah. Any objections?
Nope.
No.
What about Persuasion?
No.
Nah.
Nope.
Just a control magic for 1 more seems fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is now.
Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there as almost an opposite of Time Stretch where we all agree is mythic to something we all agree is not mythic.
Yeah.
Anything else, Chewy?
Well, I'm not gonna do them all. You guys do something.
Okay. Well, we didn't know if you had any others on your list.
What? I mean, probably, but that's not how this works.
All right.
It was how we did white.
Yeah, well, that was dumb. White didn't have anything going for it, so someone had to take the reins.
White did not have anything going for it. So, I'm going to throw it out there. Question mark.
Oh, God.
On this one. No. Battle of Wits. Yay or nay?
I think the alternate win condition cards do make sense. So here we have Battle of Wits, Chance Encounter, and
Mortal Combat?
No, wait. It's just Battle of Wits and Chance Encounter, isn't it?
Oh, is
it?
it?
Yeah, because Mortal Kombat was held for Torment, and then
white and green were in Judgment.
Yeah, and then Test of Endurance and Epic were in Judgment.
Wait, what the hell is the green one?
Epic something, right?
You want to have 20 creatures or something, yeah. Epic. I'll look it up. You keep going. So somebody else talk about Battle of Wits while I look it up.
What the hell is the green? Oh, it's gonna drive me up the wall.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, so Battle of Wits, for 3 blue, it's an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 200 or more cards in your library, you win the game.
Epic Struggle.
Epic Struggle. There you go.
Wow,
That's the green.
that popped up in the chat at exactly the same time you said it. Damn, that's eerie. But yeah, 14 just said, in his opinion, alt wins stay rare, and I can actually see it either way.
Mhm.
Like, I went back and forth on Battle of Wits for a while. I was like, oh yeah, totally, and then later I was like, is it though? Is it?
I guess if it's going to be a major build around me card, I can understand wanting to keep it at rare just so that it'd be easier to go find for the people
Yeah.
who want it.
So here's earlier I said you want to keep cycles generally the same rarity, and I do think that's true. It feels weird when they're not. However, and we'll get to this a little more when we talk about chance encounter. This doesn't just affect the way you play the game. This doesn't just affect the way that you build your 60 card deck. Affects the way you build your over 200 card deck. Like, we don't play 200 card decks in Commander. Or you're not supposed to anyway, it's against the rules. But like, this doesn't even say like 150 cards, 100 cards. It says 200 cards. I feel like this is a big card. It's a huge effect. And yes, winning the game is in of itself a big effect, but I do agree that I don't know that all win conditions are mythic, nor do I think all alternate win conditions therefore must be rare. I don't think that they can't be mythic. And here, I mean, you've got to know when this is previewed, especially for the first time, people are like, what? Like, this is the kind of card that even if everybody is like, that will never work, there are enough people that this card could be one of the cards that helps sell the set. At least until people try it and they're like, wow, that's weird, and they put it down and never do it again. This is something completely unique. To this day, we don't really. I mean, you have riffs on this, but come on, Battle of Wits is pretty infamous.
Yeah, Battle of Wits came back in a core set.
It did.
Battle of Wits is also known to make clues foam at the mouth.
So for that alone,
Yeah, remember my brother opened this in his pool at the Odyssey pre-release, and he was griping about it. And it was there happened to be one of the judges nearby, and he was like, "Hey, I will let you have as many basic lands as you want for your deck if you do it."
well, yeah.
I think I opened it at the core set, whatever core set it was in pre-release, and I'm pretty sure Lucky told me, "Do it, you wuss."
Yeah. I think you said something about it too when we were at an event at whatever the name of Randy's shop was. And I opened it up in one of my packs. And I'm like, damn it, Chewy.
So it was in Odyssey, obviously. It was reprinted in 9th edition, and it was reprinted in M13.
Uh-huh.
Which, if we're being honest, I'm fairly certain that M13 had mythic cards in it. So that's one of the discussion points. This is not the end-all be-all.
Yeah, it would have.
But come on, man. It's Battle of Wits. It's Battle of Wits. So
It's compelling.
it is compelling. And again, you know when someone's playing a Battle of Wits deck, you know it. It's pretty hard to hide.
Yeah, when the table starts to bow under the pressure when they put their deck down.
And it invites all these interesting questions of how big does the deck need to be? Because again, it's not saying like, hey, if your deck was at 200 cards, but no, it has to be at 20 cards at the beginning of your upkeep. So, anyway.
really funny is that when you said it invites a lot of questions, the first one that popped into my head is like, what the hell is wrong with you?
There's that too, but how many lands, how many cards, period, how many copies of this, who.
Well,
Anyway, I've gone on enough about this, but somebody else's thoughts. Dirk?
um, one that I'm pretty sure is not mythic would be cultural exchange.
I think
Yeah.
that would.
Oh, never
See,
mind.
it's one where I'm like, I was on the fence about it, but I kept leaning like it offers interesting things where I've got choose any number of creature target player controls, choose same number of target creatures another player controls, and you switch them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you could be just like I know there's ways of abusing this where
Yes.
I have my little 1/1, my 2/2 bears, and I'm going to exchange them for, your Eldrazi.
Yes.
Yeah, and just keep doing that. So it's just, yeah, I mean, there is absolutely ways of doing it.
I think it's a very solid rare. I think it's a neat rare, and it's great in multiplayer. But I agree with you. I think it's rare.
And that's the thing is, I'm really on the fence where I think it's unique enough that it could be used to move things around and change the game. But it just doesn't cry unique enough, like game changing enough to do it to me.
The art's awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but that's a card. Does anyone think it actually is mythic? Because Dirk started off by saying it was not.
I do for such potentially big control changing effect. For such a potentially big control changing board warping effect.
Okay.
I don't disagree. It definitely can change the dynamics of the board. But it involves it's kind of like, again, Battle of Wits. You have to have the groundwork laid out. And if you're playing a blue deck, blue is not known for having lots of creatures for you to shuffle around and say, yeah, here's these creatures, you got all these creatures, let's swap.
Yeah, that's true. You got to pair it up with something else that can make all the tokens that you need to do the trick.
Like combine it with white to make little soldiers or something.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's the one drawback to it, is that it just doesn't. You have it. It's what's it? The night creature that has three, like the Voltron one. 3 things get combined to make the one big creature.
Cauldra.
It's black. It's from
Spirit of the Night.
Spirit of the Night. That one.
But
That's kind of what this feels like. Is by itself, it can work, but you have to. I think you have to invest in other things in order to make it work well enough to use it for good purposes, like those board changing purposes.
That's a fair point. Whereas Time Stretch is just, hey, here's 2 more turns.
I'm just gonna give you extra turns.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Upheaval was another one. I mean, I look at some of the ones that are just simple, straightforward effects.
Upheaval is a mistake.
I'm sorry, did I make that noise out loud?
Upheaval again is when I looked at it and was like, oh, that's interesting. But
Upheaval is the follow up to when you have 8 mana. That is when you play Upheaval and Tarmogoyf. Not Tarmogoyf. Wow, that's terrible.
I was
No,
like,
you
what?
go Upheaval, land, Psychotog. That's what you
Yes.
do.
Thank you. That is the sequence it plays. Yes.
But my problem is I look at things like the doppelganger and go, God, that's a lot of text. Let me go to something that has less text on it. And that's my problem. It's all the ones I'm looking at. I'm like, oh, that's got easy text. Yeah, that's not rare. That's not mythic.
So your problem is that it's too easy to understand?
I mean, it's very simple, and again, it definitely changes the board, but it changes the board similar to like an Armageddon.
Yeah.
Except instead of destroying everything, it just sends everything back to your hands.
So I agree with whoever said that upheaval is a mistake. I don't think it's mythic because it's essentially another sweeper, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't a mistake to print. That the two are not equal. Something be like Skull Clamp was a mistake, but Skull Clamp was not mythic.
No.
So
Upheaval was definitely a mistake, though. Yes.
yeah.
Do you think just the big flashy effect of and the exciting feel of Traumatize would have pushed it to Mythic at the time?
I mean,
I've got a question mark on Traumatize for that exact reason.
I remember when I was getting started playing the game, and I was thinking about, like, I could bash someone with creatures, but already I was like, what's other ways to win? Oh, I can mill somebody. And then I see a card that says, here's half your work done for you, along in the same set as Mirari, which we'll get to later. And immediately my little Magic player game brain was like, all right, for 7 mana, I can play Traumatize and copy it. That is the game plan. I made a deck to try and do that, and it never worked. Now, Dark, it means you're going to get rid of 3/4 of their deck, not their whole deck.
Oh no, I understand.
But it's still
Did Brian of all people just explain to Dirk the science guy how that works?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just like, yeah, you keep halving it. You keep half-lifing it, but at the same time, like,
yeah.
Like,
well,
I might need to go change my pants after that.
It never worked.
Yeah.
It was too expensive.
Traumatized, definitely. That's definitely a one to think about.
I think it could be. There's so much more in blue here than there was.
I mean, nowadays not even nowadays, but just a few years later, we got things like Glimpse the Unthinkable and just other big mill effects. But at the time, I don't think we had anything remotely like this, did we?
No, nothing like this.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah, so it definitely could have been.
Traumatized. I don't know that we said it, but Traumatized for 3 and 2 blue is a sorcery. Target player puts the top half of his or her library rounded down into his or her graveyard. Just straight up, just boom.
See, now it says target player mills half their library, rounded down. Why did it take them so many years to use the word mill?
Way too long. So Mythic, yeah, you know what? I think yeah. So Time Stretch and Traumatize, definitely. We had a question mark next to Battle of Wits. I had a question mark next to Avashon because it's a legendary creature. I guess he's important to the story, kinda, sorta, not terribly. And it was a decent effect, but I think he's kind of outweighed by some of these other things. Question mark next to Cultural Exchange, maybe. Question mark next to Thought Devourer, haha, just kidding.
What the hell is up with poor Thought Devourer? Like a 4/4 flyer for 4 is just what blue gets now.
It is, but at the time that was huge.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, to have square stats and cost.
Yeah. Do all the colors get like a bad creature, like a detriment creature? I don't think they do.
I think you're looking for cycles that aren't there, bro.
Yeah, they explored stuff like that in the set as part of just the really spiky character of it.
Yeah.
But not all of the colors had a hard cycle of them. Like there's some threshold stuff in black that also eats cards in your graveyard to make a weird tension. But
yeah, that's what I thought, and I like Chewy said, I was probably looking for a cycle that wasn't there. But black has some stuff like Curse Monstrosity that is just like, yeah. There's also what was it, the leeches in Apocalypse that were just like, yeah, all your stuff is
that's just a side effect of creatures still being not that great yet.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else in blue?
I don't think so. Like there was a cycle of shrines at rare, but they're not good.
Yeah, notice we haven't talked about those.
Yeah, there's the cycle of
Lorgoyfs.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Lurgoyf. So it's like Vors. No, that's gonna give the wrong. That's gonna bring out the wrong fetishes. But
there's the cycle of class guys. The
yeah,
3
well,
mana.
is there one of each of those?
Not all together in this set.
No.
I know
Once
we've
it
got
gets
white,
spread
blue,
out.
and green. I haven't looked at the others.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Nope.
I guess not. But
Yeah.
they're not terribly impressive. Like the
Yeah.
cleric one, tap a cleric to prevent 2 damage to something.
That's a
And
massive pain in the neck.
It is, but
for
it's
Mythic.
it's not mythic. And Patron Wizard
Is also a massive
also
pain
a
in the neck.
massive pain, but not.
Didn't Thomas have a patron wizard deck?
Oh yeah, he had a wizard deck that made liberal use of Patron Wizard, and it just drove me up the wall whenever he landed it on the battlefield.
Right.
Yeah, Patron Wizard, for those that don't know, says tap an untapped wizard you control. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. Every wizard is now a force spike. And it's awful.
Yeah. Just keep in mind those wizards can be used for that effect immediately. They don't need to have haste. So
Yeah.
yeah. But not mythic. Okay. Unless you say otherwise, I think we're done with blue. Blue
Yeah.
had a lot more to talk about than white did.
This was also before the big rebalancing where blue was just very strong in general.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. What about black? Did black have a whole lot of stuff going on?
I mean, I despise Haunting Echoes with every fiber of my being.
Oh, Haunting Echoes is awesome.
You go to hell.
You know. Is it mythic?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just hate it. Haunting Echoes for 3 black is a sorcery that says, well, let's read the. Exile all cards from target player's graveyard other than basic land cards. For each card exiled this way, search that player's library for all cards with the same name as that card and exile them. Then that player shuffles.
It does nothing in Commander. But, you know, against someone playing a deck full of Ashen Ghouls and, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're like,
Yeah,
all right,
just
I cast
kinda-
Haunting Echoes on Chewy. I'm like, Chewy concedes and goes to his room and hates you.
Yeah. That happened at least once.
Yeah, because like essentially, if you do that to that deck, that means I spend the rest of the game going, go.
Well, and
Yeah.
because keep in mind this is in a graveyard themed set, so not only do you have ways of making people discard and getting cards into their graveyard. Blue had a card called Extract that we didn't even touch on because it's such a minor thing, but it's a sorcery where that exiles it. Sorry, but there are ways of getting them in. But also somebody's probably filling their own graveyard. This is 2 over from Entomb, which Entomb is not mythic, but Entomb is solid. Wasn't it banned in Extended?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
For a while, at least. I don't know if it stayed banned.
So people are already filling their own graveyards, and Haunting Echoes just goes, ha ha. Yeah, you don't have a deck anymore. Oh dear Lord, traumatized into Haunting Echoes.
Yeah.
You have no friends left.
That's 10
You
mana
did what
well
you
spent.
started.
That was one of the dreams to live back in the day.
I don't think I liked Mike's dreams. But I know that combo wombo right there. Mythic, maybe. I
It's
looked
kind
at
of unique in that you're going and tearing through your opponent's library. Other cards had done that, but certainly not to this extent.
Yeah, this is a big one. I looked at Braids.
I thought about Braids.
I think about Braids all the time. She scares me. I think she might live there.
I think Mike's hair, since he's been growing out, would look lovely with braids. So I'm glad to know you've been thinking about it. But this is Braids Cabal Minion for 2 and 2 black. Is this banned as a commander? I feel like it.
I think it still is.
Okay.
I don't
For
remember.
2 and 2 black, this is a legendary, I'm going to assume human minion? I'm going to pull it up on human minion, legendary creature, human minion. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land. Sounds very straightforward, and I mean, we have stuff like, who's the black praetor? Shelob? No.
Close. But now I can't think of the actual name.
Sam and I finished Lord of the Rings the other night. Made it the whole way through.
Nice.
Yeah.
What did she think of the Scouring of the Shire?
She was with it, but then she seemed very confused when I told her after the whole incident at Mount Doom. She was confused as to why there were so many chapters left. And she has not seen that movie yet. She's seen the first 2 movies. We were holding off until she'd seen this one, until she'd read this one.
Oh.
But who is Shieldred?
There we go. Yeah.
So we have that. So we're like, oh, okay, here's something that makes everybody sacrifice a creature. But this is cheap and very punishing. And yes, it hits you, but you're playing this. So
you're ready for it.
You're ready for it. And in an emergency, you just sack braids. This is very punishing. She's also a major character in the story. To the point she got such recognition that in Time Spiral, when they did the color shifting and they brought back characters but like as altered, she came back but like was not evil, right? I think she was blue.
Yeah, blue.
Yeah. So
hasn't there been another version of braids since then?
Maybe as a commander card.
Good question.
They like when there was like a time something or other recently. Yes.
Looks like no.
No, it looks like just braids, Cabal Minion, and braids Conjurer Adept.
Maybe it wasn't called braids. Maybe she just maybe whatever it was just reminded me of braids. Oh well.
Okay.
I don't know if braids herself is mythic or not. She's the more I think about it, the more I lean towards not really.
Not quite.
But
doesn't quite get.
I do know being trapped under a braids, especially one that dropped as soon as possible, was just a giant pain.
Yeah. The Cabal Patriarch was also a legendary creature, but is very lackluster. Just straight up. I'm not even going to read what he does. So, what else in black?
Like, what is up with these? Like, Blood Curdler is just bad.
Yes. They tried to make something clever, but it just came out bad.
Honestly, I like Gravestorm, but I feel like it's rare.
Yeah, it's totally rare.
It can take a while to get rolling. Problem is that like if like in this set, like playing against someone who built a deck made of mostly cards in this set, a lot of times it's not going to be that great. You're not going to get very many cards from it. You're just going to be messing with your graveyards a tiny bit. But in like normal play, when people are just playing with whatever, well, you can build around it.
Yeah. I think it's neat. I don't think it's mythic. I remember looking at Traveling Plague as a new player and being like, that's amazing. It can kill things over and over and over again. Now I look at it, I'm like, that is so slow. That is so slow. So, Traveling Plague, definitely pulling up the Oracle text on this one.
It's probably not terribly different.
For 3 and 2 black, it's an enchantment. It's an aura. It has enchant creature. At the beginning of each upkeep, put a plague counter on Traveling Plague. Enchanted creature gets -1/-1 for each. For each plague counter on Traveling Plague. When enchanted creature leaves the battlefield, that creature's controller returns Traveling Plague from its owner's graveyard to the battlefield. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. It just, as long as nobody wraths, this will just travel from creature to creature. But every time the creature dies, Traveling Plague goes to its owner's graveyard, and thus it loses all the plague counters.
Yeah.
So this is going to take forever.
Oh God, it would have to.
Whichever creature that died, the creature's controller chooses where it goes next. So it's not going to stay on the same side of the board anyway. So it takes a long time to do stuff.
Yeah, and I don't mind that. I think it's kind of fitting that, okay, well, you killed my guy, now I get to see who goes on next. I have no problem with that. Feels very flavorful. Oh, somebody passed along to somebody else, but this would take forever to kill. Even like 2 to 3 medium creatures would take most of the game, and somebody is going to wipe the board in the meantime.
Yeah.
So,
or one of the creatures, he has the.
Yeah.
I don't know. In multiplayer, it goes a little faster.
Yeah. I just remember looking at it as a newer player and being like, that's incredible.
See, I loved Traveling Plague, but I also love Tackle Maggot, and this is like only half of Tackle Maggot, but it did the front half way better.
Yeah. Especially since it grows during each upkeep.
Yeah. Poor Tackle Maggot.
Poor Tackle Maggot.
See, and maybe not at that time, but Mortivore would almost, to me, be considered mythic. Just because...
Of all of them, it's my favorite.
I think it's the stronger of them. Just because creatures are going to die, they're going to go to graveyards, and it can regenerate.
Although, to be fair, most removal, maybe not most, a lot of removal at the time had the cannot regenerate rider clause. Like, they had to make a point later to be like, we want regenerate to matter again. So...
Yeah, so mostly regeneration would protect against dying in combat, which is still good.
Still good. I mean, you drop the, you get to 5 mana, you drop this down, always have a black. So I think it's neat. I don't think it's mythic, but of the Lurgoyfs in this set, it's one of the better ones, along with Magnivore.
So real quick, the Cantivore costs 3, has Vigilance, and looks at enchantments in all graveyards. The Cognivore, where the hell is it? There it is. Costs 8, looks at instants in all graveyards, but it has flying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big one.
8. Yeah.
Mortivore costs 4, looks at creatures in all graveyards, and has Regenerate. In red, the Magnivore costs 4, looks at sorceries, and has Haste.
That one's my favorite, my personal favorite.
I used to put that in a land destruction deck as an actual finisher.
Mm-hmm.
So did I.
You might be where I got the idea. And then the green one, I can't remember what it's called. Terravore costs 3, has Trample, and looks at land cards. Which these days would be a lot more powerful, but back then only sort of kind of.
So there was a standard deck with Magnivore that was red and blue. I think because Magnivore was reprinted, was it not? I believe it was reprinted in a core set.
Yeah, it was in
9th edition.
Yeah. And
there was a standard deck that was red and blue and would always turn to Eye of Nowhere. It was the or Boomerang.
Yeah.
Basically, for 2 blue, bounce your land. Then on turn 3, start Stone Raining you. And then would finish with I think it's Wildfire, that deals a ton of damage to each creature and everybody sacrifices some lands. Wildfire.
Yes.
Each player sacrifices 4 lands. Wildfire deals 4 damage to each creature. So at that point, because they've been bouncing your lands, you probably are sacking all of your lands. And then, oh, look, here's a Magnivore and all of these Stone Rains and a lot of the bounce effects, except for Boomerang, were sorceries. And so this thing is, a 7/7. with haste, and guess what? You have no lands. So I realized you did it casually, but it was a competitive deck for some time, and it was one of the decks in standard.
Yeah, I mean,
After
it was wildfire, right? That's just what they called
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, I think yeah. So, who?
So
So yeah, so the
how have
black
we
one and
not
the red
mentioned
one.
the Lich in black yet?
Because it's
Because we just haven't gotten around to it. That's the one. That's one of the ones I was going to call.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Nefarious Lich costs black, 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 black. You got to be serious. That's also a callback to original Liches.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mana cost. So it's an enchantment. If you would be dealt damage, exile that many cards from your graveyard instead. If you can't, you lose the game. If you would gain life, draw that many cards instead. When Nefarious Lich leaves the battlefield, you lose the game.
I know we have talked about Lich cards in the past, just in general, and there has been a debate among us if they could be mythic or not. Because I think I pushed for the original Lich or one of those Liches to be mythic, and it was just so bad that we were like, it's neat and it's a unique effect, but it's just bad. This is a terribly
Because original Liches, I wouldn't call it bad, but there are definitely bad Lich cards out there.
there are definitely bad Lich cards. This is not bad. It's dangerous, but I mean that's kind of the point with a lot of these. So they all have that. Hey, if you get rid of this card, you're done. Writer. So
Yeah.
I think I almost said Notorious Lich. That's something else. I think Nefarious Lich could be mythic. Yeah. Getting a lot more in black and blue. Just wait until we get to red.
Yeah, I like Nefarious Lich as a mythic because of the way it completely changes everything you're doing once you play it.
And it can keep you from losing the game. It removes damage from the equation. Well, kind of, sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there anything else in black worth looking at?
I was going to call Tainted Pact.
I was gonna say not Tombfire,
Not
and then Repentant Angel is kind of a mirror to the
Repentant
to
Vampire, you mean?
Repentant Vampire. What I say?
You said Angel.
Okay, thinking of Repentant Vampire is kind of the mirror of Wayward Angel, where it's a black creature that turns into. Well, I guess it doesn't have a direct counterpart in white, but anyway, probably not mythic. What about Tainted Pact? You were saying, Mike.
Yeah, I was going to call Tainted Pact because it's a flashy, dangerous way to dig into your library for that one card to win the game or do something else silly with.
So what's it do, Mike?
Okay. For 1 and a black, it's an instant. Exile. Let me get the text.
Oh yeah, we weren't gonna read this, were we, Chewy? We're gonna let
Exile
him
the top card of your library. You may put that card into your hand unless it has the same name as another card exiled this way. Repeat this process until you put a card into your hand or you exile 2 cards with the same name, whichever comes first. Didn't this recently ruin Pioneer or something?
Did it?
After it got reprinted as a showcase card in Strixhaven or something.
I had not heard that, but I could see this being abused. So
I remember hearing that after it got printed as a special showcase card in the Strixhaven special stuff that it ruined.
It was banned in Historic Brawl.
Okay.
In April. So that must be what you're thinking of.
It's historic, okay.
Not just historic Brawl.
Historic Brawl, okay.
Which is the not commander thing.
It's the not commander thing because You may put that card into your hand unless it's the same. It's never going to have the same name as another card. Remove that. Well, depending on how you build your lands.
Yeah, because it was. Yeah, because it was in a stupid Thassa's Oracle deck. That's the card, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, and then you just play Thassa's Oracle and just
just win.
Woo!
Dumb.
Gamer's gonna game.
Accurate.
Okay. I think we've talked about most of the black cards. Cursed Monstrosity is just bad. So.
Yeah, Tainted Pact reminds me of. Oh God, what does it remind me of? What is this a variation on, Mike?
Oh, not Dark Pact. That's something else. Diabolic. Oh, what is it?
Damn it.
Did this card have an entwine sort of counterpart in Mirrodin?
Plunge into Darkness, I think is what you're thinking of.
That could be. Wasn't that later?
What the heck am I thinking?
That was
was later. No, yeah, Chewie, you're thinking of something from Ice Age that I cannot remember the name of now.
Ooh, I think you're right. What the hell is the name of that card?
No, it's not Diabolic something. Just look that up. Is it?
Chat said Demonic Consultation, which sort of.
That's right.
Is that what I'm thinking?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Choose a card name, exile the top 6, then start revealing cards until you get to one with the chosen name. Put it into your hand. Exile everything else.
Gotcha. Tainted Pact is a weird ass card, but yeah, it's a variation on that, where you, like Mike said, you're trying to find something specific. It's the way it's worded trips me out. Like if you just read the beginning, remove the top card of your library from the game. You may put that card into your hand unless it has the same name as another card removed this way. Like, it's literally the first card I've removed this way. What are you talking about? Repeat this process, but I can't. I already had to stop. Like,
broken.
It's one of those read the whole card, stupid. Oh, RTFC, got it. Oh Lord, should we go to red? Let's go to red.
Let's go to red. All right, so let's go to green.
Yeah, red rares, everybody.
Oh
Red.
God, red rares.
I looked at Magnivore, and I think I was more informed by the history of the card than by what the card actually does.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say I have Kamal, and that's it. That's literally it for me.
Yeah, I also have Kamal because he's Kamal. Like, I don't even know if he deserves to be mythic from the card, but like, he's Kamal.
He's Kamal, and not only is he Kamal, but he's actually the face of the set. Like, this is actually, like, he is the protagonist? I mean, he starts out pretty kill everybody, but he turns into the protagonist of not only this block, but the next block. So this is it. You know, before we had Jace, we had Baldy Man.
Baldy Man.
So Kamal, Pit Fighter for 4 and 2 red, is a 6/1 with haste. He is I'm assuming human. I'm not. I'm sure assuming he's
a human barbarian. Yeah.
Human barbarian. And you can tap him to lightning bolt somebody. Tap Kamal, Pit Fighter deals 3 damage to target creature or player. I'm assuming that's now any target.
It is. Yeah.
All right. Aha. So story perspective, yes. Power perspective, I mean, he chucks around lightning bolts, which it's iconic, and he can do it immediately because of the
6 mana lightning bolt. Wait,
6 mana lightning bolt on legs. yes, they need to kill it, but dies to removal is not an argument. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna say yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Closest thing in that color.
And then I've got nothing else. We can talk about chance encounter if you'd like. And
Yeah, Chance
Burning
Encounter is
Stand,
the red alternate win condition for 4 mana, 2 red. When you win a coin flip, you put a luck counter on it, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, if it has 10 or more luck counters on it, you win the game.
keep in mind you have to win the flips.
Yeah, it's not do a flip, it's win a flip.
10 flips, winning 10 flips is a lot. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I still feel like Battle of Wits, maybe. Chance Encounter.
Yeah, not as such. I'm not even a maybe on Battle of Wits, I don't think, but definitely not Chance Encounter.
Burning Sands is just mean. Like,
wait, which one?
Burning Sands.
Oh yeah, this is a dick move.
Yeah. Very much so. But it's not mythic.
No. Burning Sands for 5 mana, 3 red. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, whenever a creature dies, that creature's controller sacrifices a land.
But Chewy, it's symmetrical, so it'll hit the controller too.
Yeah. Sure.
Assuming they're playing creatures, you know.
Oh, 14 said Mudhole is a joke mythic. Aw. Let's not do joke mythics, though. That feels so bad. To open a mythic and you read it and you're like, what is this crap? Which I think is why they've stopped making, like, obviously bad mythics.
So Mudhole was actually the subject of one of Mark Rosewater's first articles on the new Magic the Gathering website back in the day. Keep in mind we're talking about, like, at this point 15, 20 years ago. When, you know, the internet was not as robust as it was now. And it was one of his, like, first staple articles, and it was why we make bad rares. And the picture was Mudhole. And so this is bad. They acknowledge this is bad for a rare. This is possibly bad for an uncommon. So mythic, no.
But, like, yeah, I despise bad mythics. Like, when you open a mythic, you should be like, at the very least, you should be like, neat.
Yeah.
But, like,
even
a
if I can't
Mudhole,
use it.
Mudhole is one of those where you want to find the people in charge and poke them in the eye. Yeah.
Before we had One with Nothing, we had Mudhole, which even One with Nothing had people going like, can you do something with this? Mudhole.
No, the answer's no.
But what if you traumatize and then Mudhole? Woo! Can't get those lands back. Planar Rebirth. Sticking it to Planar Rebirth.
Yeah, really was just a way out of your way. Just a very unreliable way to take somebody off of threshold sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even a cantrip, too. Doesn't even draw you a card. So, Mudhole. And then you've also got, like, Molten Influence, which there's a debate about the painful choice cards. These cards in Odyssey Block, usually in red, where red would get an instant or sorcery that had some undercosted effect. Sometimes even effect red doesn't necessarily get, but the opponent always has the choice of taking some damage instead. Like in Judgment, it's Breaking Point, which for 3 mana is a Wrath, and you're like, in red? That's great. And they're like, yeah. Or the opponent can let it hit them for like 4 or 5 damage?
6.
That was 6.
6
yeah.
damage? Okay. Ooh, well, that's a lot. But if you want to counter that Wrath, you're going to counter. And in multiplayer, it's worse because there's more people that can be like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Now with like, what's the one we like? The draw cards one.
Browbeat.
Browbeating. Liked that one because in multiplayer, it's a little more like, hey, you know, sure, let him draw some cards. Nobody really wants to take the damage. But Molten Influence, for 1 in a red, is an instant, has to be. Counter target instant or sorcery spell, unless its controller has Molten Influence, deal 4 damage to him or her. You're always, because they're choosing, if it's the card that, if it's the instant or sorcery that's going to win them the game, they're getting it, even if they go to like 1, or they don't care and they're like, okay, fine, whatever. So Molten Influence, no.
Yeah, it's a red counter spell. It's really a red burn spell.
It's really a red burn spell, except when they'd rather not take the damage.
Yeah, it's either like when you want it to be a red counter spell, it's a red burn spell, and when you want it to be a red burn spell, it's a red counter spell. So
Yep. You got it.
it is actually the worst of both worlds. I just love the art on Obstinate Familiar. This is a terrible card. It's another one of those bad rares.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I love. Like, he's like, what? He's a good lizard, or not a good lizard.
Yeah.
Obstinate Familiar, for a single red mana, is a 1/1 lizard that says if you would draw a card, you may skip that draw instead.
You will never deck me out, even with Traumatize. Take that.
It's like, nah, these 5 cards are good for the rest of the game. Screw it, I'm good.
Yeah. And
All
the
right.
opponent has no other way to win, and so they just stare at each other for like 30 more turns until the mill player, runs out of cards. Or blows up the Obstinate Familiar, but hey,
Yeah,
So, I mean, really, we're kind of taking our time, but
there's so much nothing here.
There's so much nothing here. There's some burn spells, and Seize the Day is cute, but it's very much not mythic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are really, without belaboring the point, are we good to move on to green?
I do want to point out another thing Chat said, that the art on the Dwarven Shrine is pretty mythic.
It's pretty awesome. I remember
There's the Hammer of Bogarden, there's a Rook Egg, there's a Ball Lightning. I don't know what this horn here is, actually. Is that a Horn of Greed?
No,
No,
it doesn't have the giant screaming skull.
What the hell is this? And there's other stuff in the background that I can't quite make out.
It's cool. I got a copy of this. It was one of my first rares that I opened in a pack, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. And I got so this is one of those cards where in every set there's the card I get 1,000,000 of. It was Dwarven Shrine. So, I can play multiple copies of my Dwarven Shrine, and I will probably kill myself with it. Before there were demons, there was Dwarven Shrine.
Sure, you built a deck around this, didn't you?
I don't know if I built a deck, because you can't build a deck around it other than...
That's true. You can build a deck with 4 Dwarven Shrines and 1 of everything else.
Yeah.
And then hope it works.
So Dwarven Shrine, since we're talking
I think
about
I did.
it, for 1 and 2 red, it's enchantment. Here's the Oracle text. Whenever a player casts a spell, any spell, Dwarven Shrine deals X damage to that player, where X is twice the number of cards in all graveyards with the same name as that spell. I can tell you, there was a day where this probably would have dealt somebody 8 damage if that spell was Sakura Tribe Elder, because dang.
Or if it was us, Siphon Soul.
Or Siphon Soul. Any given time, both of those cards would have been in everyone's graveyard.
It's like, well, let's see. I got 2 over here. I got 3. All right, I guess you're taking... Oh, you've got 1? All right, that's 3. That's take 12. Okay, and I'll gain Well, it's 6. Oh. Good job, Dwarven Shrine. Man, red is terrible in this set.
Yeah, let's keep.
Yeah, let's go to green.
Green's a little better.
Wait, Dirk, did you have anything else in red?
No.
That's what I wanted. Yeah.
So green is a little better, and I do mean
A little
better.
Yeah.
I had
Green. I mean, the cards are awesome, but I only had one mythic pick.
once agreed. These cards are solid cards. They're also solidly rare, right?
Yeah, Mike, was it Nut Collector?
It was not Nut Collector.
Okay, good.
All right. I also had one. So on the count of 3, Mike and I are both going to say our pick. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Verdant Succession.
I did not understand what Mike said.
I said Holistic Wisdom.
Huh.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, what's Holistic Wisdom?
Holistic Wisdom is an enchantment for 1 green. You can pay 2 and exile a card from your hand to return target card from your graveyard to your hand if it shares its type with the card exiled this way.
It has, on the printed version, it has helpful reminder text of what the card types were at the time, which are all the same now, except you would add on Tribal and Planeswalker.
It's definitely a neat card.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's not like you have to get super specific, like Tribal, like, oh, I have to play an elf deck, although you can if you want. But, getting back any sorcery by exiling another sorcery could be really helpful.
Yeah, once you find the important one and it ends up in your graveyard, then you can just keep recasting that one for the rest of the game whenever you get another one. Get another card that matches the type.
Like sorceries and Time Stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, surely Time Stretch exiles itself. Oh, dear God.
You think.
All right, you know what? I can see that. I'll be honest. I glazed over this one completely. I was like, yeah, return it, yeah, whatever.
I had a question mark next to it, but I just thought Verdant Succession was probably a little more straightforwardly powerful.
Not Bearscape?
No, not Bearscape. So Verdant Succession. You'd think I'd learn to have these up in Oracle by now, but here we go. For 4 and a green, it's an enchantment. Whenever a green non-token creature dies, that creature's controller may search their library for a card with the same name as that creature, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So, all of your green creatures, and yes, your opponents as well, but maybe they're not playing green. Maybe they're playing green tokens. Whatever. Now effectively have, get as many copies as you want out of your deck if you have a sack outlet. Like, I don't know. And I realize this card was not printed at the time, but Sakura Tribe Elder. What kind of wuss plays 1 Sakura Tribe Elder and sacks it for a land when you could play 4 and, play essentially 2 explosive vegetations for 2 mana, because you're only paying for the first one, and that is one of the most tame examples I can think of. The fact that this gets around mana costs is immediately a red flag. Yes, you have to pay the mana cost in theory for the first one, but the shenanigans you can get into, and I know Mythics shouldn't be too reliant on other ones, but the fact that this lets you get creatures for free and put them directly onto the battlefield. This nullifies Wrath of God. Okay, fine. Blow up my stuff. Guess what? It's all back. As long as it's all stuff that I have copies of, it's all back. Your Wrath did literally nothing except I get all my enters the battlefield triggers. Awesome. Your Dark Banishing, which was legal at the time. Okay, great. You got rid of one. Here's the next one.
Yeah, it's the directly onto the battlefield that really makes it.
Yes. If it was just into your hand, I think it'd be a little expensive at 5, but you know what? I could see it. But this is a little much for just directly onto the battlefield. You have the non-token thing, which tokens can be, especially lately, they've had more of the tokens that can be copies of whatever, because you can copy creature spells and get the tokens. But really, if you're building the deck correctly, that's not even going to be an issue here. So, yeah. What do you guys think? Mythic, not mythic? Dirk, you like green creatures?
I'm willing to lean Verdant Succession as being mythic.
Chewy, what were you saying?
Oh, that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm convinced.
All right. Haha.
And that's it.
Yeah, the other cards are really cool, but
Yeah.
not mythic style.
Like Call of the Herd owned Standard for a while,
Yep, awesome.
but it's not mythic by any stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Get a 3/3 for
Giant
3.
squirrel army you can call.
I got a squirrel army, and you can't harm me. Who do you... No, wait, that's different. That's zombie army, and you can't harm me. Never mind.
I love the Nut Collector. It looks kind of like Loki.
I can't tell if he's asleep or sad or stupid. Like I can't...
Or having just a very good day.
He's 6 mana for a 1/1. He's sad. He's like, I wish I could call squirrel.
Okay, chat asks, what about Seton Croson Protector? And yeah, the fact that it says Druid and not Elves makes him kind of stupid.
I mean, I can tell what they were trying to do with this. They're trying to go in a different direction. But, I mean, if you have enough cheap Druids, you could just be like, play this one, tap it for a green, play another one, combine it with any other creature that's like, when a creature enters the battlefield, draw a card, and it can go crazy. But that is also highly dependent on that situation.
Yeah. And this is still when they didn't give every creature both a race and a class. Like I'm looking up at, like Nintuko Mentor, that's an insect druid, that's cool. But I'm looking right at, like, Spellbane Centaur comes right after Seton. Spellbane Centaur, look at Spellbane Centaur. Look at it. It's a centaur, but it doesn't have a class.
Oh, it still doesn't.
It still doesn't in Oracle?
Yeah, it's just creature centaur.
What about all these classless squirrels? Like, go get a job, man.
Well, it's like Squirrel Beast. So is it a squirrel whose job is being a beast? Or is it a beast whose job is squirrely?
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke. They don't give every creature a race and a class.
I know, I'm just being silly.
It's obvious, like Spellbane Centaur obviously knows some things besides just being a centaur and hanging out.
I'm just being silly. Everybody knows squirrels, are layabouts. But yes, a centaur can certainly have a job. So
it's like this centaur is a druid. So just look at it. Look at it.
Yeah, straight up.
I don't know. Kind of looks like an accountant to me, but
I mean, even read the flavor text. No mage's deception can harm those who keep nature balanced. Isn't that the definition of a druid?
Yeah.
He has like, okay, so like Seton,
He even has a magic staff or something.
This guy is a super thick centaur. Like you look at Seton, And you're like, okay, you see the horse half, but look at how fuzzy this Spellbane is. Like, it looks almost more like a bull in some respects than
Yeah,
a
you're
horse.
right. He's half bull.
Huh.
Yeah,
Maybe that's why he's not a druid.
Yeah, the centaurs here weren't all necessarily half horse. Sometimes they were half other things.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting.
Call of the Herd was a just value card, just value. It was not mythic. It would not be reprinted as mythic, but it was like you get to 3 mana, you play Call of the Herd, and then you follow it up next turn with another one, and it's just a lot of value. But it's not mythic. Anything else before we get to gold?
Dirk, you got anything?
Nope. I was after green.
All right. I'm going to make this really easy on you. Every gold card could be mythic.
Could be.
Okay,
Not that-
I wrote
Well-
down like 3 of them, and then I went, Like I wrote
swear,
down the Johnny Magic, of course, and the Vampiric Dragon, of course.
Yeah,
And-
like you do.
I even wrote down the Iridescent Angel. And then I looked at the other 3 and I said,
They could do it.
I feel like struggled with white so hard. Blue at the time, talking to you guys, I realized there was a lot more in blue, but I think white threw me off. So I'm like, there's not a lot in blue. Black, I think I was thrown off by some of the awful cards. I'm like, this is not going well. Then red was like, come on, and nothing else. So got to the gold, and I'm like, this is where they all are. This is where they all are. So I was maybe affected by that a little bit. But yeah. So let's just go right down the line. So Iridescent Angel for 5 and a white and a blue is a 4/4, so 7 mana for a 4/4 with flying, and you're like, okay, doesn't even have vigilance like Sarah Angel, but has protection from all colors. We didn't have who's the Hydra that has protection from everything? The guy, the double Uber. Progenitus. We didn't have Progenitus back then. We didn't have this sort of thing. So this was like was as close to indestructible as you had before there was indestructible. So yeah, I think this probably qualifies. What do you guys think?
Yes. Every one of these has a solid argument.
Okay.
like,
Chewy.
I could see a Decimate not being mythic because it's just some, like, targeted removal, but it's a bunch of targeted removal. And, like, I could also see Mystic Enforcer getting missed. Because it's a 3/3 pro-black for 2 white-green, and at Threshold, it gets +3/+3 and has flying, which is massive, but I could see that. Oh, wait, we're talking about Odyssey.
We're talking about Odyssey.
Like, nowadays, I could see that being a freaking uncommon. But
But in Odyssey,
okay, yeah, maybe not Mystic Enforcer then.
a 6/6 with flying and pro black.
Yeah, and immune to the most common removal color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And immune to the second most common because it has so much toughness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Unless you really mean it.
Unless you're holding on to that, 3 mana burn spell and you play Mudhole. And they're not at Threshold anymore.
Someone punch him.
Ow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
a Tog.
A Togatog is just silly enough to be a mythic, just so
Yeah.
it doesn't, like, turn up too often.
Yes. Yeah. And it's it's fun. And it's a Wooburg creature in an era when, okay, how many Wooburg creatures existed before this one? There was Sliver Queen.
Slither Queen.
This was the second Wooburg creature ever.
Wait, really?
this.
Yeah,
this,
and
he
then
said,
I'm pretty sure Corona was the next one.
Corona was the next.
What, really?
Yeah.
Are you
Corona,
serious?
never mind. Corona and Sliver Overlord, were they in the same block?
I legitimately do not remember where Sliver Overlord came from.
My name is
looking
14 says Chromat was first. Okay, no, yeah, you're right. So it was Sliver Queen, then Chromat, then Atog.
Okay,
Chromat.
something about that didn't feel right.
That's
Sliver Overlord was in Scourge, so this was until then the third one, with the first two being very spread out, and then we got this, and then the next year, at the end of the next block, we got two more, one of which was Corona, so it almost doesn't count. Sorry, Corona, not sorry. But I mean, okay, so this is the third Wooburg creature, and it's a legendary Atog. I really don't feel like I should have to defend this. It's not a power level thing. It's more of just like a wow, look at that kind of thing.
Yeah, as I did not realize that 5-color creatures were way less common at this point.
Yeah. And then
Jesus.
I really, really hope for anyone that's been listening to this show for any amount of time that I shouldn't even have to go into why Vampiric Dragon is one of the most mythic creatures ever printed in the history of the game. I will broke. Is it very good? We're not talking about that. Mythic status. Mythic status. I mean, I have probably been waiting for this moment. I mean, when did we start doing Mythic Conscription? God, feels like 3 years ago at least. It's been a long time. I've probably been waiting to do Vampiric Dragon this whole time. You cannot take this from me. Mythic, hands down, next card. I'm okay.
I mean,
I'm good, really.
I mean, also, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's a dragon that can grow relatively simply. Like, it's a callback to Big Dragons. It's a callback to Baron Singer. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And it's a melding of two of the most iconic creature types that until this moment, and this is before the stupid
Miss
answer
from
to
Ultimus.
thank you. I don't believe those two creature types have ever shared space on a card before.
I don't think so.
I'm not looking it up. I feel relatively confident with that. Shadow Mage Infiltrator is Johnny Magic.
Yeah, Shadow Mage Infiltrator would have been mythic just on the fact that it's John Finkel alone.
Yeah.
But it's also really efficient and really good and really powerful. At least was back then.
It was. He was reprinted on the time shifted sheet a couple of years later in Time Spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then,
and then he was an uncommon in Masters 25. Oh.
Yeah. But at the time, he absolutely would have been a mythic, hands down.
Oh yeah.
I remember it would really bug my brother. One of his friends would pronounce it Shadow Mage Infiltrator, and it just annoyed brother to no end when he would hear his friends say that.
Because of the crappy font.
Look at that font. That font is, I mean, yes.
That totally says Infiltrator.
Then you look at the text box, and it's repeated twice in black, and it's a little easier to read, but yeah. Sharpnel Blast. Decimate is just different enough. I mean, like, it's...
Oh, wait a minute.
Sometimes
there's a question in the chat. 14 said, didn't invitational cards stay rare even in the era of mythics? Did
yes.
Yeah. I feel like, probably just so there'd be more out there.
So there'd be more out there.
It's a cool promotional thing.
Yeah, but this was this was not the first invitational card, but John Finkel was pro Magic player. Possibly ever. I mean, Kai Bud is up there.
Kai Bud, it's
But
in terms of just winning everything, Kaibuta has the numbers,
but I mean, like, I didn't pay attention to competitive Magic at all, and I knew who John Finkel was. So, as far as name recognition,
What was the first invitational card that got printed? Because
was it the guy on the boat?
the first one that came to my mind was Avalanche Riders, so I looked it up. Avalanche Riders was uncommon. What?
yeah, that's right. I think Avalanche Riders was the first one. I think. Well, no, wait a minute. Yes, it was because it had Echo. Yeah, because then Rootwater, whatever, was I think was the next one.
Yes, I'm thinking of the Root Water guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, technically the first one was Sylvan Safekeeper, but that didn't get printed until freaking Judgment.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then I think after that they were all rare, right?
Root Water Thief was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, and Nemesis.
And that
the
was
guy on the
modeled
boat.
after Mike Long.
Hey, I forgot that was Mike Long. How appropriately named.
First most popular comment. Ironically, this card would do little good against Mike Long because all his key cards were played from his lap.
Oh.
Accurate.
So, but I mean, there's at very least a case for all of these gold cards. And then colorless. And for some reason, the way I sorted this, it groups the lands with the artifacts.
Yeah.
If you sort by collector number, it separates them for you.
Oh, okay. Any in here feel mythic to anybody? There's very few left. So
Wait, how many?
Really, the Mirari is the only one.
Mirari, absolutely. It's another one that is the face of the set. This is the MacGuffin that these people are chasing for this block and indirectly in the next block.
Yeah, like it's the centerpiece of the block.
I mean, it's the set symbol.
There's that too, yeah.
So
also it is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Like for 5 mana, it's a legendary artifact. Whenever let's read the oracle text. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay 3. If you do, copy it.
Like Traumatize.
Like that was not super common. Like we have copy stuff left and right these days, but at the time, I don't think there was that much that just said, just make copies.
For repeatable.
Yeah, thanks to Strixhaven, that was a theme in it, so we're like drowning in copies. But at the time, no way. And the fact that this sat there and you could do it with any of your instants and sorceries, go nuts.
But like the rest of them are no.
Are you sure you don't want to make a case for Tarnished Citadel?
Oh, I was just looking at artifacts.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. I didn't bother.
Atarian Juggernaut at Threshold turns into an uncommon.
It does. It does. Woo. Junk Golem is not junk, but it's Yeah.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
For where is it? I gotta scroll the way back down. Thanks.
What?
For Charmed Pendant, I looked up the example given for the mana cost in the reminder text. At the time, so right now there are only 3 cards in the game with that exact mana cost. At the time, there were only 2. So, if they had something specific in mind, it could have only been referring to either Spinal Embrace or Princess Lucrezia. It probably had Spinal Embrace in mind since it had just been printed the previous year. Princess Lucrezia was from back in Legends. So Charmed Pendant, it's an artifact that costs 4 that I need the Oracle text for. Because it says, tap, mill a card. For each colored mana symbol in the milled card's mana cost, add 1 mana of that color. Activate only as an instant. This is because it's dependent on stuff and you really don't know what kind of mana you're going to get with it. They didn't want you to be able to activate it while you were casting the spell because you might need to like stop and back up if you didn't have enough mana and blah blah blah, just complicated things. But anyway, the important part, it has reminder text. For example, if the card's mana cost is 3 blue blue black, you add blue blue black.
You just ignore any generic mana.
Yeah, but at the time, the only 2 cards in the game with that mana cost were Spinal Embrace from Invasion and Princess Lucrezia from Legends. And it wasn't until World Wake that there would be another, and that would be Rexiel Arisen Deep.
I mean, they were just using it as an example, but
Yeah.
I see. They could
Thank
have
goodness
picked
they chose
any...
one that actually existed.
So I don't think it's Mythic, but
No, I was just pointing out the weird thing.
No, I know, and we're having this discussion, so that's fine. But I'm just thinking this.
Brian,
still...
are you leaning back or something?
A little bit. Why?
Because you just sound very far away.
How am I now?
Okay, now you sound very close up.
All right. How? Okay. So I'm going to talk from right here, and
beautiful. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I just noticed you sounded funny.
Apologize. But this has the potential to be pretty silly. You could get a lot of mana off of this with a little bit of deck manipulation.
Or just deck building consideration.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so the lands. We've got these. What do these have a name?
I can't remember what people
filter
call
lands.
No.
They're very early filter lands.
I guess proto filter lands, because the filter lands took like a green and turned it into a red and a green.
They took like a red green hybrid and turned it into red. Yeah, those.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Those are the ones from Lorwyn Shadowmoor.
Yeah, this takes any mana and turns it into one of each.
Mm-hmm.
And it's allied colors, right?
Yeah, but that's all it does. It can't make mana otherwise.
Yeah. There's Crystal Quarry, which for 5 and tap gives you Wooburg, or taps for colorless. Deserted Temple, which taps for colorless, or pay 1 and tap to untap target land. Meh. Petrified Field, which you can sack to get a land from your graveyard to your hand. Oh. Okay.
You can do some silly things with Deserted Temple, but
yeah. And then Tarnished Citadel is a City of Brass that can tap for colorless or tap for 1 mana of any color and you take 3.
Yeah.
Ow.
I mean, in some games, you'll end up taking less damage from a Tarnished Citadel than you would with a City of Brass in the same position.
In some
you
games.
don't always need the color from it.
Yes. But when it really matters.
Yeah, don't put it in the deck where it's really going to matter a lot.
Yeah.
Ow.
Okay.
I bolted myself.
Yeah, put Tarnished Citadel in like a 2-color deck at most. You're going to be a lot happier with it that way.
The Laying Shield. I don't have to worry about this until next upkeep.
I'll pay to prevent the damage with mana from my Tarnished Citadel. Oh
no!
What has science done? And Brian gets sucked into the singularity.
Then I'm gonna untap it with Deserted Temple. Oh.
So yeah, Odyssey. What I was saying in the pre-show, I was like, man, the set sucks, and I don't mean like I meant for the purposes of our exercise here. This is not a great set.
But I think they were they didn't want to do stupidly overpowered stuff. And they were just coming off of Invasion, which was a really popular set and had a lot of stuff going for it. They probably didn't want to add a ton of stupid stuff to the format and break things. So,
But as
they
always, color
gave us-
balance is all over the place. Like green is pretty solid as far as rares go. Red is crap, which you think we'd be used to by now.
Mm-hmm.
Black was all right. Blue had a bunch of weird stuff, but a bunch of it's useful. White had solid stuff, but nothing mythic-y, or at least not much
Yeah.
mythic-y.
And several really niche things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like what's
super
with the
niche.
white rare tech cards?
We are very afraid of sorceries and instruments taking over the format. So, let's go ahead and give us all these answers to sorcerers and instants that aren't named upheaval.
Oh, no, I'm sad.
Yeah, that's Well, yeah, you're right. These do absolutely nothing to stop upheaval.
Nope. But then upheaval was a mistake, and we're really not joking about that. It really was. So
Have they said that? Like, for real? Oh,
I'm
God.
certain someone has.
if they haven't, then that's a mistake. Well, this is our first time actually talking Magic in a while. Yes, we've talked about previews, but this was our first time really talking about just some old school Magic in a while. It was pretty fun, I got to admit. The quality of the cards notwithstanding, or perhaps almost making it a little more enjoyable that they're not super special awesome.
Yeah.
Sometimes poking fun at bad cards is its own reward. And again, some of these aren't bad; they're just not mythic. There's a difference.
Yeah, like I said, it's not that this set sucks overall. It's that this set sucks for this. And a lot of the sets we've done have sucked for Mythic Conscription.
Yes. This set also has Mudhole, but
But it's also got Kamal just right there. So
there you go.
it's fine.
Yeah.
So that was Odyssey. So next time we do one of these, we'll do Torment.
Torment. Oh, that's gonna be a lot of black.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Yes, for people who don't know, partly for story reasons and partly because it was just an interesting exercise. The follow-up to Odyssey, Torment, was heavily weighted towards black. Like I think, like almost half the set was black cards or something.
Heavily tilted toward black. Yeah.
With reduced numbers in the other colors.
Yeah.
And then to balance it out, and I think green and white were more reduced than blue and red were in Torment, because blue and red were black's allies. Yes, they gave more cards to black at the expense of cards for green and white in Torment.
Yeah.
And in Judgment, they pulled the balance back. Black was greatly reduced, and the presence of green and white were increased. It was a very interesting exercise.
But so we're gonna get to that, and yeah, that's gonna be an interesting discussion. Just because black is gonna have more cards for our consideration doesn't mean they're all better. But there's some choice inclusions in there too. So that'll be an interesting discussion as well. Yeah.
But that's for future dorks to worry about. So how about some final thoughts then before we lose Dirk entirely?
Well, final thoughts for me.
I agree with
This
your
set was weird. Like this was part of the big block cycle or the big cycle of where multicolor sort of showed up and did its thing, and we all were losing our minds over multicolor and everything else, and there was a lot of cool stuff. but I don't know. This was really again a case of there's a lot of really good cards, but the cards are really good when you start splashing other colors with it. And I think that sort of is reflective in this is the multicolor or the cards, the mythic cards we were talking about and everything. They work well in a monocolor deck, but they work better in a multicolor deck. And I don't have any experience from this set. I was not playing during the set, so I don't know how big of a big swing that was in terms of splashing colors and everything. But based on what I know from playing with these guys and everything, splashing colors and making two color decks and everything was sort of a new thing around the time I started playing. Is the impression I was getting. I might be completely wrong.
Yeah, unfortunately you are, because this was
Many.
Okay.
But did we lose Mike?
I think we did, because he said he was in the middle of a sentence.
Like, I thought he paused so he could do some math. This was my brain extrapolated X number of years into Magic. So that's
Yeah.
why I said many. But then he didn't say anything.
Mike? Uh-oh. He
Man,
made
it's
it the
been a
whole way.
long time since this happened, though.
But, yeah, multicolored decks were not a new thing. And
Yeah.
especially,
This was right after Invasion, which was a big multicolored set or block.
yeah. And even though that was one of the first sets to really have a gold theme, they've been printing like dual lands for
I mean, since
the
Alpha.
entirety.
Yeah.
So your own experience may differ.
And
But-
that I think is probably part of it that I was doing monocolored for a while before I started getting splashed into it, and that didn't happen until a bit later.
Yeah. Which, a lot of people start out, focus on one color at a time, because it's a lot easier to understand how lands work, and these cards are meant to go together. They all do similar things. Did Mike just drop off the call entirely? Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Dirk?
Oh, that's it for me, and I'm actually going to have to bounce.
All right.
So I'm going to wish you guys all a wonderful night, and I will talk to you guys later.
Night, Zerg.
Good night.
Damn.
Yeah. All of a sudden, it's just you and me.
Oh, I think Mike's about to join in from his tablet. Because I see he's back on Discord with the mobile symbol. Yeah, there he is.
Hey.
Hey, buddy, what
Hey.
happened?
I moved, and the way I moved pulled the power cord out of my laptop, which does not have any battery power anymore. So I immediately lost power to my laptop. And now I'm on my tablet while my laptop is rebooting.
It took Discord a while to figure out that you weren't here anymore. We could tell right away because you just stopped talking mid-sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said, unfortunately, this was, and I thought you were going to say, like, a number of years into Magic, so I said many, because you paused, and I thought you were counting. But
No,
then you
what I was
didn't
saying-
say anything.
Yeah, it was, Dirk was talking about his impression of, this building multicolor decks was a new thing. And he said, or I could be totally wrong about that. And I was going to say, unfortunately, that is wrong, because this was coming right off of Invasion Block, which was the multicolor block.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the thing I said later, so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And then he left.
Yeah, but then he
said, "Well,
left.
Mike's not going to be here,
He's like,
just
if
gonna
Mike
go
gets to leave, I get to leave. Screw you guys.
So, I guess for my final thought, I don't have anything prepared. Everything's going okay. It was a little. We have drifted a little away from Magic, not permanently, but just to feel like we could talk about whatever we want to feel, whatever we felt like talking about. Bleh. And we have continued to talk about previews, but as much as I enjoy previews, it's nice to do our own thing. I enjoy some of the segments we've done, both Mythic Inscription, No Plane Like Home, Mad Libs, other features that shall not be named, but hopefully people enjoy. So hopefully we'll continue to do some of that. But I will not be here for the next episode. So I hope everyone does well and rests up. And if you guys decide to do some chatting or put on an episode, hope you have fun with it. But otherwise, I will rejoin everyone in 2 weeks. And that's what I got.
Wait, what happens next week?
My grandmother will be turning 100.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Is that a small number?
For humans, no. For some turtles, yes. But she is not. Wait. No, she's not a turtle. So.
Well, Bill will be upset.
My grandmother's not a turtle?
Yeah. Bill. I think Bill prefers turtles to humans. At least of the ninja variety.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's my final thought.
Well, cool. That's awesome. Hitting 100. Wow.
She's worked real hard at it. So.
Every day of her life. So, how about you, Mike?
I don't know. Losing power to my laptop and drop from the call kind of threw me off. And I think I've also been having trouble on my end with my internet connection. I don't think it's my actual internet connection. I think it's probably has something to do with my laptop just being old.
It is pretty old.
Yeah, it is quite old. Did I also lose my connection when I was talking about Nefarious Lich's art earlier?
I don't remember there being a large block of silence.
Okay.
Nor do I.
Okay, just talking about how they weren't really selling it with the art, where the original Lich art was awesome, and this one's like the guy is really not having a good time, and you're wondering whether you should be playing this card if this guy obviously doesn't like it.
That does sound familiar, yeah.
Okay, all right, glad that came through. Besides that, I'm just trying to get used to my normal everyday life routines again, because that vacation was the longest. It's about the longest uninterrupted vacation that I've ever taken. It was 2 whole weeks, and I haven't really done that before. So I think I'm finally back into my routine with work and everything and stuff around the apartment, but I don't know. I guess I'll find out tomorrow if there's something I've forgotten. Maybe I'll never find out. Who knows?
Don't forget, tomorrow we need to wake up Green Day.
Oh, no, I think that was today. Damn.
Well, I mean, September hasn't ended yet.
Okay, that's true.
I was about to say, do we do that tonight, or do we wait until tomorrow morning and just be like, hey, get up? That got said in the Discord earlier, and I was like, all right.
Yeah, that's it for final thoughts type stuff.
Fair enough. So, real quick, go to patreon.com/themanapool to become a lifeguard. It helps immensely, and you could get early stuff or odds and ends or the sponsorship shout out. So, hey, let's do that. Thank you to Al, Kim Ho, Scuzzo, John Parker, Jake Jansons, Mike, Team You Hellas Are You, PJ McMullen, Violet Moon, The Beast Father, Aaron Goodwine, Jason Kaus, Andrew Hunt, Aleph Cat, Cody Buckowing, Casey. Nope, ran out of breath. Jeff Spencer, Gothic Man, Jason Doan, Mr. Dr. Lewis, Connor Kennedy, Stan, and ALK Alters. Yay! Also, in the near future, I'll be setting up a second YouTube channel for the video essay type stuff that I have planned. You know, the MCU rewatch that I've mentioned in the past that's still being worked on, and potentially other things. But rather than have someone like discover it and watch it and go, oh, I wonder if this person has anything else like this, and then going to the YouTube channel and seeing literally hundreds and hundreds of videos that are nothing like what they just watched and going, that seems somewhat intimidating. So I want to have a second channel that's more laser focused for just that. Yeah. I haven't said that anywhere in public yet, just on the Discord. But since this is the Mana Pool, I'm going to name that one The Deep End, which I kind of like. And I'm proud of me because I came up with it. I didn't come up with it. My brain was like, try this. And I was like, damn it, that's really good. It's not like I was sitting around thinking of it. I'd actually just said on the Discord, hey, I'm going to name it this. And then my brain was like, psst. Oh, that's way better.
That your brain is part of you, right? So
sometimes. But given how often it turns against me, I don't know if it's entirely part of the team or not. But it's like, hey, psst, try this. And I was like, The Deep End. Oh, that works on so many levels. Son of a... So that's the plan. It's not up yet, but it will be. I'm very excited. But okay,
you should be.
Yeah. But as for other final thoughts, I don't know. On the YouTube channel, like the Mana Pools YouTube channel, there's a new video series that just started going up. Gothic and I are playing It Takes Two, which is adorable and dark and a lot of fun, and we're going to be streaming that either on Fridays or Saturdays. I got to poke Gothic and find out which one he wants to do. We did it last Friday, but those are the only two nights where he's off and we're not podcasting, so it has to be one of those two. So yeah, that's going to be 3 or 4 more streams probably, because it's not a short game, so looking forward to that. We did, I think, 3 hours or so the first time. The only reason we stopped was because Gothic's internet was starting to act weird. But it's really cool. The gameplay is constantly changing it up and making it more interesting. And the way that they have you doing co-op also changes throughout each section of the game. And like at the very end... No spoilers, but at the very end, we were on of the last stream. We were on a toy plane that had been actually broken, and we were just gliding on the wings, and both of us were hanging underneath the wings. It was like a biplane, and in order to steer, we had to shimmy to the left or the right. We were each on a bar, and so if we both went to the far left, the plane would turn sharp, and if we were both in the middle, it would mostly go straight. It's really clever the way that the gameplay changes, and I'm really excited to see what the rest of it's like. So come to twitch.tv/themanapool on either Friday nights or Saturday nights and check it out, because we're going to be doing that. And it's about a married couple, and Gothic and I bicker like a married couple, so it's great. Yeah. Is that it? I'm doing other stuff. I have way too many plans. Like if you've seen on Twitter, I posted just like a quick, here are some things I want to do on stream, and there's a lot. Like I want to do, remember the Castlevania taste test I did where I played like all of the Castlevania games I had access to for just a short period of
Yes.
time to get a feel for each one. I want to do that again with like Spider-Man and X-Men and Jurassic Park and Ninja Turtles and maybe Contra, maybe wrestling games. So that's several streams right there. I want to run through the modded versions of Zelda 2 and Castlevania 2 that I have that make them, less stupid. And I want to actually play these Castlevania games, a bunch of them, actually stream those because they're good, and play the Gargoyles Quest games. There were 3, one on the Game Boy, one on the Nintendo, one on the Super Nintendo. And like once I finish Doom, by the way, I finished Doom 64, so Doom 3 is up in the franchise run next, just in time for spooky season, which is awesome because Doom 3 is a horror game, or at least starts as a horror game, I think. But I want to play through the Halo games and the Rocket Knight games. You guys know the Rocket Knight games? Oh my god.
I've heard of them. I don't think I've ever actually played them.
Time Splitters, the Quintet trilogy. Quintet made 3 Super Nintendo RPGs. There were, oh god, I always lose one. Terranigma, Soul Blazer. What's the other one? Illusion of Gaia.
Illusion of Gaia, yeah. Illusion is the only one that I've ever actually played.
And then just old games in general. I want to play through Phazanadu and Battle of Olympus and Crystallis on the NES and Willow, and then play the arcade Willow, which is a drastically different game, and Chrono Trigger and the Discworld games and EVO. I have so many things I want to do and finish the series I'm already doing, and the podcast, and
And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
Yeah, there's just too much to do and not enough time to do it. But I'm very excited to do some of these relatively soon. I think the taste tests are going to take some planning, but like I should be able to start like the Gargoyles Quest games or the Shantae games relatively soon, or the Rocket Knight. I'm really looking forward to those. Started off as a game on the Genesis, Rocket Knight Adventures, and then they released Sparkster on the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, but they're 2 completely separate games. Like they're not the same. They just have the same name.
Mm.
And then there was a more modern one called Rocket Knight, I think. Oh, I just bought it on Steam. It was on sale for like a couple bucks. Yeah, it's called Rocket Knight, which none of them have been called Rocket Knight. I think that's all. I think it's just those 4. But there might be another one in there that I'm missing. But yeah, they're like quality character platformer games, and I'm very excited. But anyway, that's just stuff that I've been looking forward to and wanting to do and whatnot. So yay! But with that, we're gonna shut up now because it's late. So this has been episode 633, right? Yeah, of the Mana Pool. Thank you all so very much for listening, and if you have extra copies of Mudhole, we are so sorry.